Tribe Entertainment. Yeah.
It is a glory for y'all that can still a thing, but it's an honor to search it out if you're a king. The heart has many vices for us to give to desires. So choose you life or death when you live a burning fire. Now who will stand in the council of Yah? Now who will stand in the I say who will stand in the council of Yah? Now who will stand in the council of Yah? Come on. Will you serve Yah, or will you pass by? Will you serve Yah, or will you pass by? Praise Almighty Yahweh, to every Moreh, to Rabboni, speak His word faithful. Every law and testimony, there's no light up in you. If you continue to discredit Yah's credential about who is serving, let the Spirit get you. Deuteronomy 13, first 7 verses, 18 chapter 2. Remember all this service purpose. If you feeling like you a prophet, then bring the topic, leave emotions out. Bring to the table Yahweh's writing. If you enlighten, since they hyper about Yahweh's lighting, let these Hebrew know Genesis 1 begin that time and rather lining up a line and you won't find where the moon to find another day is light and words of thumb unto my brightness was an unsign to bring in no months either. In the desert 40 years they have no leaves neither. Shout out to Melech David and King Solomon, who was signed all y'all soldiers 12 were the hirelings. It is a glory for y'all that can still a thing, but it's an honor to search it out if you're a king. The heart has many vices for us to give to desires. So choose you life or death when you live a burning fire. Now who will stand in the council of Yah? Now who will stand in the I say who will stand in the council of Yah? Now who will stand in the council of Yah? Come on.
Yeah, it's time for me to take the shackles off. Everybody want freedom, but they don't know the actual cost. They want to be down for the cause without the accurate loss. Sacrifices, bodies lifeless, just to prove who's the wisest. Yah's golden tongue better than Midas. I transfer light through the mic, the way your internet's like a hack through your wireless. The flow is timeless, cause I spit with coke. My false prophets words synthetic like polka. Patties, no counsel against Yah, so y'all can at me. HOY trying to take sin from the natty. Teach precision, no merits if they perish. I can tell they lacking vision. If two don't walk in unison, then they destined for collision. That's why we seeking that counsel that is hidden, like sown for the righteous that's living.
It is a glory for y'all that can still a thing, but it's an honor to search it out if you're a king. The heart has many vices for us to give to desires. So choose you life or death when you live a burning fire. Now who will stand in the council of Yah? Now who will stand in the I say who will stand in the council of Yah? Now who will stand in the council of Yah? Come on. Will you serve Yah, or will you pass by? Will you serve Yah, or will you pass by?
Shalom, shalom, shalom. First and foremost, giving all praise and honor to the Holy One of Israel, to the Creator of the heaven, the earth, the sea, and all that is there and is, by saying hallelujah. Praise the mighty Yah. Yah is righteous, Yah is holy, and let Yahweh be magnified. Once again, the Creator has allowed us to come before you another day, bringing to you His great, holy, and exalted words, even the words of truth. My name is Moreh, IshiYAH, YisraEL, of the house of Israel, located right here in Cincinnati, Ohio, 2330 Kemper Lane, bringing to you nothing but the truth. And yes, it is true. All we're going to do is tell you the truth, for Yah ordained me to tell you the truth, and this is what I'm going to do. And who is this Yah? Yah is the creator of the heaven, the earth, the sea, and all that is there and is, Yah is the Elohim of our fathers, the Elohim of Abraham, Yitzhak, and YisraEL, whom you may know as Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Yah is our king. He's our judge. He's our lawgiver. And Yah is our only Savior. And not just of Israel. Yah is the Savior of the world. And I praise the mighty Yah for another beautiful, glorious opportunity to come before you with his great, holy, and exalted words. On this beautiful day of beautiful week, the 7th month, the 3rd day of the month of the heathens or the Gregorian calendar, 2023, we will be dealing with questions to prove beyond a shadow of a doubt. And I want to deal with these questions because I know for the most part, a lot of various different Israelite congregations don't take a lot of questions. And that's okay. That's fine. That's how the order is set up. But we're set up to answer the many questions that our people may have for them to learn and grow. But also I want to deal with questions because I know it will help you in your quest in studying the word of Yahweh. And so you want to write down these questions and write down the answers for time to come to see, have we changed? Have we wavered? And is this really the truth? And there's many questions that not only we are asked during the week and on the Sabbath day, but these are many of the questions that I've discussed with leaders in the past, currently, and I'm sure we will have these discussions in the future. And so I'm discussing these questions with you all. Each day it will be primarily a set of different questions. And it's not easy to just formulate questions. A lot of people think it's easy. That's why oftentimes when we take questions, the questions really don't have a lot to do with the word of Yahweh or salvation. I mean, they do, but they're questions that they're not difficult at all. They're things that you can just read and understand what it's saying. But a lot of these questions that you will hear today are questions that not only will help you practically today and every day, but it will also help you to understand some of our differences. And I have 7 questions. I may get to them all, I may not get to them all, but I'm going to try to get to them all. Because once again, these questions are to prove beyond a shadow of a doubt. So in other words, we don't want to leave any doubt at all. And you might believe that we have left doubt. You still have doubt in the answer. But these might answer the things that you already have doubt about. So let us deal with question number 1. Question number 1, and this is what it says. Did Joshua change time as we know it when the sun stayed still and the moon stayed, according to the book of Joshua, the 10th chapter? And let us go to the book of Joshua, the 10th chapter. Did this alter time as we know it? And that's very important to know, because many in our community believe the reason that and it's reasonable why they will believe such a thing. So I don't fault nobody for believing this at all. And because it sounds reasonable to me. But let us see if it is the truth. In the book of Joshua, the 10th chapter, the 12th verse, this is what it says. Then spoke Joshua to Yahweh in a day when Yahweh delivered up the Amorites before the children of Israel. And he said in the sight of Israel, this is what Joshua said, Sun, stand thou still upon Gibeon, and thou moon in the valley of Ajalon. And the sun stood still, and the moon stayed until the people had avenged themselves upon their enemies. Is not this written in the book of Jasher? So the sun stood still in the midst of heaven, and hasted not to go down about a whole day. So in other words, the sun went up that day, but then when it got evening, the sun was still up. And then when the day turned to the night, the sun was still up. And it didn't even go down until a whole day. In other words, from the time that it went up and it got up, then the whole nother day had to happen in order for that sun to go down. And it seemed reasonable why someone will believe that this change and alter time. And of course, I'm one that don't believe that at all. It didn't change a day. A day still happened, because a day is not predicated on the sun. Whether you see the sun or not, that's irrelevant. And whether you see the sun for a whole day is still irrelevant, because everything, because the sun is just a sign. And we must understand the difference between a sign and a day. And the Almighty called a day light. And this light was from sunup, or in the morning, to the evening. When the Almighty created the light, there was 3 days that had no sun, had no moon, neither did it have stars. So the sun, moon, and stars didn't control what will happen in a day at all. They were just signs that the Almighty put in the earth 4 sign, season, days, and years. And these sign, season, days, or year signs that you can tell certain things. Seasons, which means they were set, fixed times. And we're going to get to that. Days, meaning days of the years, days of the months, as well as years. And we'll see that. Because if it did alter time as we know it, would not the scriptures let us know that? So let us look at the timeline in the scriptures to see if we can ascertain whether time was altered in any kind of way in the scriptures. The first place I want you to look is in the book of Exodus. I'm sorry, not Exodus. Numbers 33. Now watch this. And the reason why I'm pointing this out is because Joshua, this is the time that he went by. And let's see if, because what he did, it altered anything that Joshua would do. In the book of Numbers, the 33rd chapter, this is what it says. The very first verse, and we on just question number 1. Did Joshua change time as we know it today, when the sun stayed still and the moon stayed, as we just read in the book of Joshua, the 10th chapter? But this is what it says. These are the journeys of the children of Israel, which went forth out of the land of Egypt, with the armies under the hand of Moshe and Aaron. And Moshe wrote their goings out according to their journeys by the commandment of Yahweh. And these are their journeys according to their going out. Now watch what this says in the 3rd verse. And they departed from Ramesses in the 1st month, on the 15th day of the 1st month, on the morrow, after the Passover, the children of Israel went out with a high hand in the sight of all the Egyptians. So we know, as a record of truth, our people went out on the 15th day. That's when they went out of Egypt, which was tomorrow after the Passover. And the Passover, according to the scriptures, is the 1st month, the 14th day at even. So tomorrow after that is the 15th day. And of course, they went out that night on the 15th day. This is when we came out of Egypt. Then a month later, which means 30 days later, watch what happened. Remember, we came out of Egypt on the 15th, the morrow after the Passover. But look what happened exactly 30 days later in the book of Exodus 16. And I want you to write these things down. The very first verse. And they took their journey from Elim, and all the congregation of the children of Israel came unto the wilderness of Sin, which is between Elim and Sinai, on the 15th day of the 2nd month after their departing out of the land of Egypt. In other words, this is the 2nd month, but it's not just the 2nd month. It's exactly 30 days after they departed from Egypt, because they departed from Egypt the 1st month on the 15th day, and they came in the wilderness of Sin the 15th day of the 2nd month, exactly a month later. And then furthermore, when they came into the wilderness period, they left the 15th. But the morning of the 16th, they were in the wilderness. But look what else happened on the morning of the 16th. The morning of the 16th, which is the morrow after the 15th. And this is what it says. The 6th verse, Exodus 16 and 6. And Moshe and Aaron said unto all the children of Israel, at even, then ye shall know that Yahweh hath brought you out of the land of Egypt. And in the morning, and what morning is this? The morning of the 16th. Because at evening of that 15th, he was going to rain down quail. But in the morning, he was going to give them bread from heaven, which is called manna. It says, then ye shall see the glory of Yah, for that he heareth your murmurings against Yahweh. And what are we that ye murmur against us? And Moshe said, this shall be when Yahweh shall give you in the evening flesh to eat. And when did he give us flesh to eat in the evening? On the 2nd month, the 15th day, which is exactly a month, 30 days after we came out of Egypt. And in the morning, bread to the full. And when was that? The morning of the 16th. The same morning that we came into the wilderness, which is exactly 30 days after we had came into the wilderness. We came into the wilderness the 16th that morning, and 30 days later, Yahweh will give us bread from heaven, which they call manna. And of course, that's exactly what happened in the 12th verse. I've heard the murmurings of the children of Israel. Speak unto them, saying, at even ye shall eat flesh, the 15th at evening, and in the morning ye shall be filled with bread, the 16th in the morning, and ye shall know that I am Yah, your Elohim. But guess what happened 40 years later? Because they was in the wilderness for 40 years. And this is what it says in the book of Joshua, the 5th chapter. And you're going to see what I mean. Did Joshua, because he stayed the sun, stayed the moon, did that alter time at all? In the book of Joshua, the 10th chapter, this is what it says. I'm sorry, Joshua, the 5th chapter. We have a little problem with our volume, so we're trying to correct it now. I'll keep reading, but it will change, go up and down. In the book of Joshua, the 5th chapter, this is what it says in the 10th verse. Now remember those dates, and this is 40 years later. The 10th verse. And the children of Israel encamped in Gilgal and kept the Passover on the 14th day of the month at even in the plains of Jericho. This is 40 years later. they still kept the Passover on the 14th day of the month. So every year, the Passover was the 14th day of the month. Every year for 40 years. Never changed. Never deviated from that. And watch what it says. And they did eat of the old corn of the land on the morrow after the Passover, unleavened cakes, parched corn in the self-same day. In other words, the day that we came out of Egypt, which was the 15th day, and the Almighty called that the Feast of Unleavened Bread. And for 40 years, the 15th is the morrow after the Passover. That's why it's saying this. We ate the old corn of the land on the morrow after the Passover, unleavened cakes, because when we were in Egypt, we ate unleavened bread. We ate it on the Passover too. But this is the morrow after the Passover. We ate unleavened bread. And of course, what happened in the wilderness? Well, on the 15th, the morrow after the Passover, what did we do? We came to the wilderness of sin. But not only that, watch this. Because something happened after unleavened bread or after the 15th day. And the manna ceased on the morrow after they had eaten of the old corn of the land. We ate of the old corn of the land the morrow after the Passover, which had to be the 15th day. But then the morrow after that, the manna ceased, which is the 16th day, 40 years later. And when did the manna come? In the second month on the 16th day, that morning. In the same morning, the 16th day, the manna ceased. And what do this mean? So not every year on the 16th was a recognized date in which we went into the wilderness, but it was a recognized date in which the Almighty brought us manna, and 40 years later, on the 16th, and the 16th to the 16th is 30 days. No matter how you count it, that's 30. And 30 days in the scriptures is a month. Matter of fact, they'll tell you that 30 days is a month today. But in the scriptures, it's established that it's 30 days. Now, why is that important to know? The reason why that is important, because when you go to establish whether something has changed or not, should not you see that change? And that's the point. So all the way up until the time of Joshua rulership, it's still giving you the dates and the times that we came out of the wilderness, we came out of Egypt, or came into the wilderness, and when the manna came, when the manna ceased. No months changed, no years changed. They were all consistent with one another. It was 12 months. Every year, it was 30 days every month. But you might ask yourself, well, in the book of Joshua, the 10th chapter, all this happened before he stayed the moon, before he stayed the sun. And what you're saying is correct. But let me show you what happened after he stayed the sun and the moon. And you still won't see no deviations, because the Almighty will establish his truth. And you're going to see it one particular place in the book of Joshua 14. And these are questions to prove beyond a shadow of a doubt. Because it's not just one way to prove that it was 30 days every month, nor is it just one way to prove that it was 12 months a year, nor is it just one way to prove that time has not been altered at all. In other words, Yahweh said, I change not. He don't change. When Moses established the law from Genesis to Deuteronomy, he had already established 30 days a month. He already established 12 months a year. And there was nobody after that that would even alter that or change that at all, because it was part of our law. Here it is in the book of Joshua, the 14th chapter. Watch what this says. And we're going to start reading at the 7th verse. Get right to it. We'll start at the 6th verse. Then the children of Yehudah came unto Joshua in Gilgal. And Caleb the son of Jephunneh the Kenizzite said unto him, Thou knowest the thing that Yahweh said unto Moshe, the man of Elohim, concerning me, and thee in Kadesh Barnea, because they were the only two that stood very strong. And watch what he says. 40 years old was I when Moshe, the servant of Yahweh, sent me from Kadesh Barnea to spy out the land, and I brought him word again as it was in my heart. In other words, when they went to spy out the land, most people don't know this, but it was in the first year after they came out of Egypt. It was the latter part of that year, according to the book of Numbers. It was the time of the fruit harvest, when we bring all our fruits in. They even brought fruit off the trees just to show the people, just to show Moses how plentiful the land was. So it was around the 7th month when they brought this fruit in to show Moses. And what Caleb is saying, when I went to spy out the land, I was 40 years old. So that first year, he was 40. But watch what happens. Nevertheless, my brother that went up with me made the heart of the people melt. But I wholly follow Yahweh, my Elohim. And Moshe swore in that day, saying, Surely the land whereon thy feet have trodden shall be thy inheritance, and thy children forever, because thou hast wholly followed Yahweh, my Elohim. And now, behold, Yahweh have kept me alive, as he has, as he said, these 45 years, even since Yahweh spoke this word unto me, Moshe. While the children of Israel wandered in the wilderness, and now, lo, I am this day 80 and 5 years old. And this is well after he stayed the sun, well after he stayed the moon. He was 40 when he went into the wilderness. in the first year coming out of Egypt, 45 years later, now he is 85 years old. And what change did the sun and the moon play in his life? And let me tell you, none. And why? Because a year is a year. If time had altered, it would have altered his birth, his whole calendar clock that he go by. You just can't change dates and times and then it don't affect the world. And it didn't affect the world because it was just a sign. That's all. But it didn't change a day. It didn't change a night. It didn't change a morning. It didn't change an evening. It didn't change a month, nor did it change a year. Whether the sun come up, just like when the Almighty caused in Egypt to be dark for 3 days. That didn't, and those 3 days were 3 nights for 3 days. It was darkness for 3 days. That did not alter time. Yahweh could do anything like that. It's not going to change the time for the world because Yahweh changed not. And it didn't change Joshua's age. He gave it when he came in, and then it gave his age 45 years later because a year is a year. A month is a month. And we have been counting all the months all the way until that time. And we have been counting years all the way until that time. And there was no changes at all. Which brings us to question number 2. And I'm sorry that question was long because the answer was long because we got to prove this stuff beyond a shadow of a doubt. Question number 2. When King Hezekiah answered that the dial of King Ahaz go backwards 10 degrees, and you'll read this in the book of 2 Kings, the 20th chapter. When King Hezekiah answered that the dial of King Ahaz go backward 10 degrees, did this alter or change time as we know it today? Or did it change any time in the scriptures? And no, this did not change time at all, whatsoever. Here it is. We talked about Joshua and what he did. To further prove it didn't change anything. In the book of 1 Kings, the 6th chapter, 1 Kings, the 6th chapter, this is what it says in the first verse. It says, 1 Kings, the 6th chapter, first verse, and it came to pass in the 480th year after the children of Israel were come out of the land of Egypt, in the 4th year of Solomon's reign over Israel, in the month Ziph, which is the 2nd month, that he began to build the house of Yahweh. This is 480 years later, which is after the time of Joshua. when he first stayed the sun, stayed the moon. This is 480 years later in the second month. And we know that this 480 years later, they were still on a clock of 12 months, still on a clock of 30 days a month. And let me show you that. Well, one reason you know they were still on that clock, because Solomon himself in the book of 1 Kings, the 4th chapter, the 7th verse, he only had 12 officers over each month, because there was only 12 months in a year. And not only he had 12 officers over each month of the year, in the book of 1 Kings, the 5th chapter, when Solomon began to build the temple, this is how he will order his men to work. And this is how many men that work for him. And this is what it says in 1 Kings, the 5th chapter, the 13th verse. And King Solomon raised a levy out of all Israel. And the levy was 30,000 men. In other words, that's how many men he will have to work for him. And he sent them to Lebanon, 10,000 a month. And see, you got to know what a month is. That's important to know. That's why I just say a month, because a month is like saying a day. A day is fixed. A year is fixed. A week is fixed. If a week wasn't fixed, it wouldn't be called a week, because you wouldn't know what to go by. If a day wasn't fixed, you wouldn't know what to go by. But these things are fixed, and I'm going to show you that they're fixed. 10,000 a month by courses. A month, they were in Lebanon. 2 months at home. And Adon, the Ron, was over the levy. It'll let you know when they work and when they stay home. So for example, if you worked in that first month, you worked in the first month, but you was off the second month and the third month. And then you'll go back to work in the 4th month, because you stay home 2 months and you work 1 month. And all the months were the same. We know they were the same because the only ones we read about from the time that our people came out of Egypt, even before then, during the time of Noah, 30 days. When they came out of Egypt, they left on the 15th and they came to the wilderness of Sin exactly 30 days later on the 15th, which is a month. And the 15th to the 15th is exactly 30 days. So if you worked the first month, you was off the second and third month. Then you worked the 4th month. But then you was off the 5th and the 6th month. Then you worked the 7th month. But you was off the 8th and 9th month. Then you worked the 10th month. Those are the 4 months that you will work in that year. But then you had some people, they didn't start working until the 2nd month, which means they were off the 3rd and 4th month. Then they worked the 5th month. Then they was off the 6th and the 7th month. Then they worked the 8th month. Then they were off the 9th and the 10th month, and then they would go back to work the 11th month. And then you got the other 10,000, because this 10,000 did this work. 30,000 did this work. But it says 10,000 a month. And so 10,000 waited to the 3rd month to work, but then they was off the 4th and the 5th month, they worked the 6th month. Off the 7th and the 8th month, and then they worked the 9th month. Off the 10th and 11th month, and then they worked the 12th month. 30,000, 10,000 a month over the course of 12 months, and every month was satisfied with these 30,000. And we know what a month is. It is only 12. And this is after Joshua stayed the sun and the moon. But it's still before Hezekiah, when the dial of Ahaz went back 10 degrees. So did this dial of Ahaz, when Hezekiah's life was extended 15 years, did that alter time? And the truth is, it did not. Because Yahweh said, he changed not. And watch this, even after then, this is what it says in the book of Esther, the 2nd chapter. Just to show you they were still operating under the same clock years after Hezekiah. Even Josiah still was keeping the Passover at the same time, on the 14th. And it don't matter what year you count, because the 14th to the 14th is 30 days. Just all you do is, if the Passover is on the 14th, the first month of the 14th, the 14th to the 2nd month to the 14th, 30 days. 14th to the next month, 30 days. The 14th to all 12 months, it'll be 30 days. And then as soon as you get to the 2nd year, guess what? The 14th will come again, but now in the 2nd year, it's just 30 days from the 12th month of the 1st year. And every year, this is how this will go. But in the book of Esther, watch what this is, the 2nd chapter of Esther, after Hezekiah. In Esther the 2nd chapter, starting at the 12th verse. And this is what they did. They wanted another wife for King Ahasuerus, and they got her. And her name was Esther. And this is what it said they did concerning the women. Esther 2 and 12. Now, when every maid's turn was come to go in to King Ahasuerus, after that she had been 12 months. And what is 12 months? According to the scriptures, according to that time in 2023, according to the time of everywhere I looked, 12 months is a complete year. 12 equal 30-day months, according to the manner of the women. For so were the days of their purification accomplished, to wit, 6 months with oil and myrrh, 6 months with sweet odors, and with other things for the purification of the women. Then thus came every maiden unto the king. Whatsoever she desired was given to her, to go with her out of the house of the women unto the king's house. In the evening she went, and on the morrow, the next day, which is that next morning, she returned into the second house of the women, to the custody of Shagas, the king's chamberlain, which kept the concubines. She came in unto the king no more, except the king delighted in her, and that she were called by name. And now when the turn of Esther, the daughter of Abihail, the uncle of Mordecai, who had taken her for his daughter, was come to go unto the king, she required nothing but what Hagar, the king's chamberlain, the keeper of the women, appointed. And Esther obtained favor in the sight of all them that looked upon her. So not only she was a beautiful woman, but also she didn't want nothing. And it reminds me of David. Why do it remind me of King David? Because all through the Psalms, David would tell you that I shall want nothing. And why don't David want anything? Because when you got Yah, you have everything. So what are you going to want anyway? And let me just show you that real quick in the book of Psalms so you can understand what I'm saying. So hold your page at Esther, the 2nd chapter, and watch what this says. In the book of Psalms, Psalms 23:1, Yahweh is my shepherd, I shall not want. And rest assured, our people want a whole lot. They're not like David. They're not like Esther, who when she was asked what you want, she didn't want nothing. They gave her some stuff, but it's not because she wanted it. The 16th verse, Esther 2:16. So Esther was taken unto King Ahasuerus into his house royal in the 10th month, which is the month of Tebet, in the 7th year of his reign. And the king loved Esther above all women, and she obtained grace and favor in the sight more than all the virgins. And why do you think she found favor? Because of her wisdom, because of her kindness. So that he set the royal crown upon her head and made her queen instead of Vashti. So here, once again, even past the life of King Hezekiah, still 12 months. Even in the book of Daniel, it's still, no matter where you look, in the book of Daniel, and I may add, Daniel actually lived before Nehemiah and Ezra. They put the book afterwards, but he lived before them. But this is what it says in the book of Daniel. See if I can show you this real quick. In Daniel, the 4th chapter, watch what it says. The 27th verse. After Daniel tried to let him know that the Most High ruleth in the kingdom of men and giveth it to whomsoever he will. And this is the counsel that Daniel gave Nebuchadnezzar, because he seen Nebuchadnezzar going sideways. Like many of our people, we got to remind one another, hey, Moreh, IshiYAH, look here, I'm letting you know right now, the Most High ruleth in the kingdom of men. He ruleth in the kingdom of Israel. So you start hearing me talking about, I'm the head, I'm the ruler. Then you got to pull me aside. Watch what it says, 27th verse. Wherefore, King, let my counsel be acceptable unto thee, and break off thy sins by righteousness, and thy iniquities by showing mercy to the poor, if it may be a lengthening of thy tranquility. All this came upon King Nebuchadnezzar. At the end of 12 months, he walked in the palace of the king of Babylon. And how do you know it's at the end of 12 months? What would demonstrate and show that this is at the end of 12 months? Because we teach you at the end of 12 months, that's the beginning of another year. You're at the end of 12 months. Now you're at the first month of a whole nother year. And let's see if even during the time of Daniel, after King Hezekiah, was this the case? Then the king spake and said, is not this great Babylon that I built for the house of the kingdom by the might of my power, for the honor of my majesty? And while the word was in the king's mouth, there fell a voice from heaven, saying, O King Nebuchadnezzar, to thee it is spoken, the kingdom is departed from thee, and they shall drive thee from men, and thy dwelling shall be with the beasts of the field. They shall make thee to eat grass as oxen, and 7 times shall pass over thee, until thou know that the Most High ruleth in the kingdom of men, and giveth it to whomsoever he will. The same hour was the thing fulfilled upon Nebuchadnezzar, and he was driven from men, and did eat grass as oxen. His body was wet with the dew of heaven, till his hairs was grown like eagle feathers, and his nails like birds' claws. Because what happened at the end of 12 months? Well, you're at the beginning of a whole nother year. And what will you see? A lot of grass. A lot of grass for the beasts of the field. A lot of grass for the oxen. And undoubtedly, a lot of grass for Nebuchadnezzar. And this could have never happened in the winter, because there is no grass. And I don't want you to be tricked and bamboozled by this all-weather grass this man-made stuff they got out here today. Watch the real grass, the grass is going to die. And no beast want that. That's how you know it was at the end of 12 months. Again, after the time of King Hezekiah. And why? Because no time was altered at all. Because that was just a sign of time. But it was not time itself. And we got 2 questions in. I knew those 2 questions would take a good time, so we'll try to just get 1 more question in. And then we'll deal with the other questions. And this question says, why do it seem so hard for Israel to do the right thing? And I might add, Israel didn't do the right thing when we was a free people in the land. Why do you think we got kicked out of the land? Israel didn't do the right thing before we got to the land. Why do you think most of our people died in the wilderness and never made it to the promised land? And why do you think our people today, even though they know the history of our people, they know what happened in the wilderness. They know what happened when we got to the land. And they know how many times we turned to evil. Even the Almighty gave us shepherds, gave us judges, and then will give us kings, but we still didn't do the right thing all the way until this very day. So why do it seem so hard for Israel to do the right thing? And just a couple of scriptures. The first one is in the book of Isaiah. Isaiah, the 66th chapter. And watch what this says. Isaiah 66. We're going to close out on these 2 scriptures because you're going to learn a lot with these 2 scriptures. If you want to know, if you want to learn, and if you want to stop the cycle of wickedness and evilness that has plagued us all the way into this very day. And if you want to know why Israel is so rebellious, hard-hearted, stiff-necked, this is the answer why. A lot of people ask that question, but the answer is very simple. And watch what it says. In the book of Isaiah, the 66th chapter, starting at the first verse. Thus says Yah, the heaven is my throne, the earth is my footstool. Where is the house that ye build unto me? Where is the place of my rest? For all those things, and as you know, the Almighty destroyed the house that we were at, the temple, more than one time. And the Almighty kicked us out of the place of our rest. It wasn't the place of his rest because heaven is his throne. Earth is his footstool. For all those things have my hand made, and all those things have been, says Yahweh. But to this man will I look, even to him that is poor, which means humble, afflicted, and of a contrite spirit, and trembleth at my word. And this is something that our people don't want to do and have not done all the way into this day. They don't tremble at the word of Yahweh. They take Yahweh for granted, which means they take his word for granted. And they have not yet learned to hallow the word of Yahweh. And the way you hallow the word of Yahweh, you got to humble yourself. And you got to be of a contrite spirit. Then you can tremble at his word. Every time you read something, you want to see, how can I fulfill what this is saying? This is the only thing that's going to help you to be prosperous in the word of Yahweh. Yahweh is looking for this type of man. And the last thing concerning that is in the book of Ezekiel, where we just talked about. And watch what it says in the book of Ezekiel, which I may add also is after the time of Joshua and Hezekiah. And I'll show you, we just don't have time today, how time was never altered. And watch what this says in the book of Ezekiel, the 2nd chapter, the very first verse. And he said unto me, Son of man, stand upon thy feet, and I will speak unto thee. And the Spirit entered into me when he spoke unto me, and set me upon my feet, that I heard him that spoke unto me. And he said unto me, Son of man, I send thee to the children of Israel, to a rebellious nation that have rebelled against me. They and their fathers have transgressed against me, even unto this very day. For they are impudent children, stiff-hearted. I do send thee unto them, and thou shalt say unto them, Thus says Yah Elohim. And they, whether they will hear, whether they will forbear, for they are a rebellious house, yet shall know that there have been a prophet among them. And thou, son of man, be not afraid of them, neither be afraid of their words, though briars and thorns be with them. And thou dost dwell among scorpions. This is how bad our people are described. Be not afraid of their words, nor be dismayed at their looks. And my people can give you the worst looks, though they be a rebellious house. And thou shalt speak my words unto them, whether they hear, whether they forbear, for they are most rebellious. And what is this saying? What is the bottom line? Because the question is, why do it seem so hard for Israel to do the right thing? Well, the reason why it seems so hard is because Israel is a hard people. And you have to stop being hard. All over the scriptures, it'll tell you that we're hard-headed, we're hard-hearted, we're stiff-necked. In other words, these are all hard things. No wonder it's so hard to do the right thing. And we must become soft. The very thing that you told not to be. You're told, don't be soft. Be hard. But Yahweh wants you to be soft. And we have allowed ourselves to think backwards and not forward. And we must become a softer people. This is what a contrite spirit is. This is what humility is. It's really being soft. Let us pray. Almighty Yah, creator of the universe, Elohim of Abraham, Yitzhak, and YisraEL. Thy servants humbly come before thee, thanking you, Almighty Yah, for your goodness, your loving kindness, and tender mercies. We thank you, Almighty Yah, for your blessings. We thank you, Yah, for all things. Thank you, Yah, for bringing us to another week. Thank you, Yah, for allowing us to see another day. Thank you, Yah, for keeping a breath of life in our nostrils that we might praise thy holy, righteous, and exalted name. And Almighty Yah, as this day come to a close, as the evening dawn upon us, Almighty Yah, we praise thy holy, righteous, and exalted name. Please forgive us for our sins, transgressions, and iniquities, Yah. For we love thee with all our heart, all our soul, and all our might. Please continue to bless our hands, our mind, our heart, our spirits, that we might labor and work in thee, that we might think upon thee, meditate on thee, and that we might execute thy laws, do all thy commandments, honor all thy covenants, and keep all thy judgments. And please, Almighty Yah, take this stony heart out of us, this stiff neck from us, and give us that heart of flesh, that we might serve thee in righteousness and truth. And Almighty Yah, please be with us in the night season, to watch over us, to protect us, to encamp thy angels about us, keeping us safe from all hurt, harm, and danger, that we might rise again, Almighty Yah, on another day to praise thy holy, righteous, and exalted name. For truly we love thee with all our heart, soul, and might, Yah. And truly we need thee for all things. Blessed be thy holy, righteous, and exalted name, Yah, from this time forth and forevermore, by saying hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Praise the mighty Yah. Yah is righteous, Yah is holy, and let Yahweh be magnified. And until tomorrow, Yahweh love you, and so do I. Shalom.
Yeah. Folk Tribe Entertainment. Yeah. is a glory for y'all that can still a thing, but it's an honor to search it out if you're a king. The heart has many vices for us to give to desires. So choose you life or death when you live, a burning fire. Now who will stand in the council of Yah? Now who will stand in the I say who will stand in the council of Yah? Now who will stand in the council of Yah? Come on. Will you serve Yah or will you pass by? Will you serve Yah or will you pass by? Praise Almighty Yahweh, to every Moreh, to Rabboni, speak his word faithful. Every law and testimony, there's no light up in you. If you continue to discredit Yah's credential about who is serving, let the spirit get you. Deuteronomy 13, first 7 verses, 18 chapter 2. Remember all the service purpose. If you feeling like you a prophet, then bring the topic, leave emotions out. Bring to the table Yahweh's writing. If you enlighten, since they hyper about Yahweh's lighting, let these Hebrew know Genesis 1 begin our time and rather lining up a line and you won't find when the moon to find another day is nine words of thumb to my brightness was a sign to bring it no months either in the desert 40 years they have no leaves neither. Shout out to Melech David and King Solomon who assigned all y'all soldiers 12 of the highlands. It is a glory for y'all that can still a thing, but it's an honor to search it out if you're a king. The heart has many vices for us to give to desires. So choose you life or death when you live, a burning fire. Now who will stand in the council of Yah? Now who will stand in the I say who will stand in the council of Yah? Now who will stand in the council of Yah? Come on.
Yeah, it's time for me to take the shackles off. Everybody want freedom, but they don't know the actual cost. They want to be down for the cause without the accurate loss. Sacrifices, bodies lifeless, just to prove who's the wisest. Yah's golden tongue better than Midas. I transfer light through the mic, the way your internet's like a hack through your wireless. The flow is timeless, cause I spit with coke. My false prophets words synthetic like polka. Patties, no counsel against Yah, so y'all can at me. HOY trying to take sin from the natty. Teach precision, no marriage if they perish. I can tell they lacking vision. If two don't walk in unison, then they destined for collision. That's why we seeking that counsel that is hidden, like sown for the righteous that's living.
It is a glory for y'all that can still a thing, but it's an honor to search it out if you're a king. The heart has many vices for us to give to desires. So choose you life or death when you live, a burning fire. Now who will stand in the council of Yah? Now who will stand in the I say who will stand in the council of Yah? Now who will stand in the